Ordering coffee in Italian is a simple, low-stress way to start speaking. Here's how to do it so that you can feel part of Italian daily life and avoid awkward moments at the counter. Start with Buongiorno. A little cultural tip is that when you go into a place in Italy, it's really important to say hello to people in shops and cafes when you walk in. So you can start by saying Buongiorno. You might hear people say ciao occasionally if they're more informal, and in that case you can follow their lead. If they say ciao, you can say ciao. Then you can decide to order either standing at the bar, Italian style, or you can sit down if you'd like to take your time. Then the barista or the cameriere, waiter, will take your order. And often to take your order, they'll either say Prego. So we often think of prego as meaning you're welcome, but actually in Italian it's also just a polite invite to do something. You might also hear mi dica, which literally means tell me, but it's another polite way of inviting you to order. Next, it's time to order, and there are a couple of words that you can use to order in Italian. You can say vorrei, which means I would like, vorrei. Or you can also say prendo, which means, it literally means I take, but in this situation it's more like saying I'll have, and you can use it anytime you want to order something. Prendo. For example, vorrei un caffè. Prendo un cappuccino. But actually there's a simpler way. In Italy, I notice a lot of the time Italians just simply say their order plus grazie. So for example, you can say un cappuccino, grazie, or un caffè, grazie.
Un cappuccino, grazie.
Un caffè, grazie. In terms of what to order, the main types of coffee in Italy are un caffè. Attenzione, in Italy, un caffè is actually an espresso because that's the normal coffee that they drink. If you want an espresso like Italians, you can just order un caffè. If you want a longer coffee with more water in it, which is more like typical black coffee, you can ask for un caffè americano. Un caffè americano. And if you'd like to add some milk, you can ask for un caffè americano con latte. Un caffè americano con latte. Another common coffee is un caffè macchiato, which is a shot of espresso with a dash of milk in a small cup. Un caffè macchiato. Un cappuccino. Be careful of the pronunciation here, because obviously this word exists in English, and so we tend to pronounce it with an A, like a cappuccino. But in Italian, it's really important to pronounce the U, cappuccino. And the double P is long, cappuccino. Let's ask an Italian how to pronounce it.
Cappuccino, cappuccino.
If you like to drink a latte, in Italian that's called un latte macchiato, which is a cup of milk with a shot of espresso in it. The word latte, or in Italian pronounced latte, on its own just means milk, so it's really important to include the macchiato, un latte macchiato. The word macchiato literally means stained in Italian, so that's why a little espresso stained with milk is un caffè macchiato, while a cup of milk stained with a shot of coffee is un latte macchiato. These are all of the main ones. If you'd like to hear about more different types of coffee in Italy, we recently made a more advanced ultimate guide to many different types of Italian coffee, which you should be able to find somewhere around here. A quick tip, if you see an Italian having something that looks tasty and you want to try it as well, you can point discreetly and you can ask for lo stesso. This literally means the same, and it's a bit like saying the same for me. Lo stesso. Lo stesso. To be polite, you can add the word per favore, please, onto the end. Or Italians also sometimes use grazie, thank you, instead. Finally, paying for your coffee. Something which should be simple in Italy could be really confusing because there are so many different systems depending on how big the bar is, whether you sit down or not. So I'll try and give a general guide. Let's say you're going Italian style and you're having your coffee standing up, al bancone, at the counter, al bancone. If it's a large counter or the till is quite far away from the coffee machine, you often pay first alla cassa, at the till, alla cassa. Then you take lo scontrino, the receipt, lo scontrino, over to the coffee machine where the barista is making the coffees. You hand over lo scontrino and then you repeat your order. If it's a small counter where everything is close together and maybe there might only be one barista, then you can just tell them your order and then pay at the end. If you're at the table, once you finish your coffee, you can ask, pago qui or alla cassa? Shall I pay here or at the till? Pago qui or alla cassa? Sometimes there's a charge for table service, so just be aware that if you drink your coffee at the table and then you pay at the table, there might be an extra charge on your bill. It's called servizio al tavolo. Servizio al tavolo. If you pay alla cassa at the till, you can go up to la cassa and then repeat your order. You can start with ho preso, which means I had. Literally, I took, but in this situation, in Italian, it means I had. Ho preso. For example, ho preso un cappuccino. Coffee doesn't cost much in Italy, so often if you go with a group, someone might offer to pay for the whole group instead of paying separately. If you'd like to be generous and be the one who pays for the group, you can say, offro io. Offro io. Offro io literally means offer I. It's like saying it's on me. Offro io. And then you've finished, you're caffeinated, ready to go about your day exploring Italy. As you leave, you can say arrivederci, goodbye, arrivederci. Another nice thing to say is buona giornata, have a nice day, buona giornata. And remember, if you'd like to go deeper on this topic, because it's quite a big topic, we've got the other more advanced video on Italian coffees that you can watch somewhere around here. And now it's time for me to say arrivederci, buona giornata. Ciao.
E adesso abbiamo perso la calamita.
Ho rovinato tutto. Ho anche perso la calamita. Che sarà dentro mezz'ora.